Hi guys and welcome to another episode of Pep Talk on the Joe Maxwell Show. I am your host, Joe Maxwell. On today's topic, we will be looking at how to help Black women struggling with depression. Before going into this topic, let's welcome our guest on set today. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much, Stacey, for coming. Thanks so much, Brenda, for coming.
Thank you.
I must say, these colours are blinding me. I love them. Love it. Love everything about it. I love the colours popping.
Just for you.
Oh,
Exactly,
I feel special and gracious. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Right, let's concentrate. So Stacey, thank you so much for sort of joining us today. Just to help us, because the topic we're talking about today is something rather serious. Obviously, depression isn't something that, it should be taken lightly, even though we don't often talk about it within the Black community. And just to help our viewers understand why we've got yourself and Brenda, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, so my name's Stacey. I am a psychological wellbeing practitioner. I specialise in mental health and wellbeing. I founded Renew Today, which is an organisation that provides a number of mental health and wellbeing services, especially to those within the Black community. That was founded almost 8 years ago now. I myself experienced depression at one point in my life, and that kind of propelled me to venture into this line of work.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. Brenda, over to you.
My name is Brenda David, and I work as an intensive housing officer, housing people with mental health. I'm also the CEO of Solario Source, Ready to Eat Source, and I work as a children's entertainer. And yeah, I've experienced mental health myself, depression, so to speak. So yeah.
So right, you guys seem to have so much going on, and obviously, as you guys know, you understand why we do have Brenda and Stacey to talk about a very topical issue that a lot of us don't like to talk about. Have you heard these words? Why the hell do you feel depressed? Go to church, talk to a pastor. Black folks don't get them fancy problems. You weren't depressed, you're just a little sad. This is just a tiny snapshot of what is thrown around the Black community in reference to mental illness. We do not accept it at all. If you mention it, the conversation will change quicker than a blink. This is why so many of us are struggling. Mental illness is often a taboo in our home. And we're about to find out why this is the case. So ladies, thank you so much. This to me is, I'd say it's a very sensitive topic. And I think even apart from it being a sensitive topic, it's something that a lot of people aren't even aware that they are depressed.
Yep.
So I guess the question is, why is talking about depression a taboo? Why is it something we don't like to talk about? I'm just going to pass over to you, Brenda.
I think some people feel it's a sign of weakness. They feel, just like you mentioned earlier on, Joe, that, it's just pray to God, speak to your friends. Everything will be fine. Just get on with your life. You're not the only one that's got a rough time. But they forget it's not about that. Depression is actually about yourself. When you start feeling, you can't just carry on. You want to give up. Even sometimes you might have it all and you just feel there's just something wrong. There's something that is not just right about me. Why am I here? Do you know what? I don't even want to be here anymore. So
it basically takes your mindset and your thinking.
Yes.
Over to you, Stacey. What are your thoughts? Why do you think we keep getting these reports about the Black community? Because apparently, a lot of Black folks actually suffer from depression.
Yeah.
Probably even more than the Caucasian society.
Definitely. Statistics show that the majority of those within mental health services, especially the more severe, are those of the BAME community, which is the Black ethnic minority communities out there. And 1 in 4 of us, so within the room, within the studio right now, at least one of us has experienced mental health in our lives. That's how high the statistics are. I think for us, it's definitely around education. We all say knowledge is power, but within our community, we don't want to educate one another when it comes to mental health. There's such a stigma attached to it that if anybody mentions it, we shun from it. It is a sign of weakness. We do look at it as a sign of weakness, which is a lie. It's not true. We also think all the different misconceptions. So if I declare that I've got mental health, that means I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah.
That means I'm going to be on medication.
So do you think that's as a result of lack of help, or resources to support people, lack of support from community, from people, or why do you think people feel
I
that
think
way?
it's definitely a multifaceted problem. So, as I said before, there's education. We need to create a more awareness within our Black community. Also, services. So, if you look out there, the number of services that are out there are aimed at those who are of the middle class, upper class, and they might not understand the culture, the background of the clients when they come from the Black communities. Also, I think we live in a world where social media is so prevalent. I think individuals that are of influence need to talk about it more. So we go to church. Why does our pastors, our leaders not talk about it? It's something that's done behind closed doors. Our celebrities that our young people idolize, the footballers, they need to talk about it. There's a number of clients that I have that are sportsmen, and when they're off the field, they find it very hard to deal with life, but they don't talk about that. So the young people that they look up to just see the glitz and the glamour. They don't see what comes with the whole package.
And that's the danger with social media.
And just to add up to what Stacey has said, a lot of time why people don't really mention it again is we just laugh at them, like friends and family. When you've confided in someone to say, this is how I'm feeling, maybe postnatal depression, which a lot of people don't still know about that. If you've had a baby, you're laughing. People can actually laugh and smile and play, but still be depressed, because there's stress. And when you tell friends and family, the next thing is, to talk about is start gossiping behind your back, laughing at you if you see what's wrong with your friend.
It's all about labeling, basically.
Yes, stigma.
All the stigmas that are attached to depression, why a lot of people do not talk about it. So we need to change that mindset.
Thank you so much. So Brenda, I know we spoke off chat, and I know you have gone through that episode yourself. I know Stacey, you did mention that, but I think what would be good is whilst you guys are sort of qualified in that field, what is also good is to be able to share some of your experiences and how you found yourself in that mode of depression. So over to you, Brenda. Do you want to talk us?
I had 2 episodes, to be honest, with depression. First of all, I would say how we all started. I'd had about I think 4 miscarriages, and then after that I had a daughter that passed away after I gave birth to her. Then I had my son. In the space of when my daughter passed away, how it is, still the same thing that we said about our culture, that, people would laughing and say, I've been married 3 years now, you still haven't got a child. So in the middle, I think it was 3 months after I was pregnant with my son. So even a lot of people after when they saw me thought it was still the same pregnancy. So I had my son. It was all not too bad. I had not grieved. Again, when my baby died, a lot of my family members were telling me, oh, no, you don't have to go to the burial. Oh, they don't bury, mothers don't bury their children. So that alone, I didn't grieve because I wasn't there, but they did call me on the day when they were burying her at the hospital. So then after that, I had my daughter who was diagnosed with Dick George syndrome. And again, my mom, when I saw there was a sign with my daughter, and she'd be like, oh, God forbid. No, this doesn't happen. God will not let this one happen. And I'm saying, Mom, this girl doesn't look well. So all the stress, then when I found out that she had 12 holes in the heart and had to go to hospital, being admitted at Great Ormond Street, had a heart operation, the sickness, her neck kept moving for I think 8 months. During that period, I could not take my daughter out. When I finally got the courage to take her out, some of my friends would laugh at me. A week, I think 2 weeks after that, someone told me and said, did you see that person when she was trying to shake a toy, so that your daughter could laugh? It was because she knows that if she laughs too much, her neck is going, because I used pillow to hold her neck on the car seat so that it doesn't move. And there was a time when someone was like, oh, let the baby play. But I couldn't. I couldn't just tell them because I didn't want them to think I had a disabled child. So all through that, hospital appointments, orthotics, and she had to wear special boots. At a point in time, because that depression didn't even kick in at that time. Yeah. You know how it is? It was afterwards where I just felt like, why is this happening to me? Is it just me alone? But then I'm still carrying this bold face. They always say the most happiest people who make other people happy, are always the ones that suffer the most. I still have this duty where I know people expect me to be friendly, playful. So I can't actually show how I really feel. And when I finally found the time to say, this is what I'm feeling, I'm depressed, because I'm in the line. So I know all the triggers, I know all the signs, but I couldn't even I couldn't believe it was happening to me.
So during all that, what were the symptoms that you felt that made you believe that you were going into it?
The symptoms would be just, I'll sit down and just start crying. I just cry.
So you
I
had
just keep,
episodes of crying.
yeah, I would cry. I would, self-neglect. People always say when you self-harm, sorry, that's the word. When you self-harm is only always about cutting or maybe drinking. My self-harm was I stopped eating. When I eat, I feel like, why are you so happy that you're eating? Is it what's happening in your life that is so interesting that is making you eat? So what I do is not eat.
Listening to what Brenda's gone through, I mean, you'd agree with me that there was an element of neglect there with family members, with friends. And again, this is very peculiar with us within the African culture where you cannot be, you can't have a disabled child. You can't be seen to have a problem. You have to be shining. Can you sort of enlighten us in terms of how we can kind of help and support in that sort of...
I think your story is not uncommon, especially within our community. I think there's a number of organisations that need to provide more accessible services. If you knew where to turn to, if you knew that you could pick up the phone and call this particular person, this particular organisation, you would get the support that you would need. So you would look outside of your family or your church or your friends. And I think that's where the government is failing. There's not enough accessible services for those within the Black community.
Black families don't always know how to recognise depression. This isn't stereotyping, it is real. Black families have historically experienced so much oppression, dating as far back as slavery. And we have been taught to have thick skin and, of course, to lean on God as a means of survival. Masking our feeling is often treated as a defense mechanism. We're going to take a break now, but when we come back, we'll be talking about it. Welcome back, guys. Still on today's topic on depression. Still with us today is Brenda and Steph, and we're going to be looking into why we often lean on God and we don't seek medical advice. So it will be the medical versus religion. So I'm just going to pass over to you, Stacey. You definitely did mention that you have been through series of depression yourself. And I guess the question is, have you found yourself, or did you find yourself in a place where you thought, I couldn't be going through depression, and you were casting and binding and just saying no, rejecting it all and not facing the reality?
Yeah, no, you definitely think leading up to maybe an episode that you're invincible. I was young at the time, I was educated, I was going for my master's, and I didn't think that depression would be my portion. I didn't think it was for me. But that moment when I was in the living room all alone with a newborn baby, crying my eyes out, I knew that I had to do something about it. I was very fortunate that I had a particular family member. My mum was in the country at the time, and I called my mum and I was like, you need to shut the shop. You need to shut all shops. I'm at my wit's end. I'm at the end of my life and I don't know how I'm going to go any further. And
you did seek help at the right time.
At the right time. And, my mum just came in. Your mother comes with love, and she was just like, I don't have a clue what you're going through. So you definitely have to seek professional help. And that's what I did. It was just unfortunate that the services that I sought help from couldn't really support me, didn't quite understand my culture, my background, or my needs.
So it's quite interesting because with your mom did ask you to get the right support, which isn't often what you'd get from parents, because they're like, you've got to be strong. You know what's wrong with you? You've got a newborn baby. You've just got to be strong for this baby, forgetting that you've got feelings yourself. So it's at least good to know that your mom was there for you. Obviously, over to you, Brenda. Talk us through the times of your denial.
Just like I said, I just thought no. I see people with mental health every time. I ask them, I assess them, I know all the triggers. I'm too strong for that. That would never happen. Then I just saw myself just drowning and drowning and drowning. Obviously, didn't have people to speak to because they weren't of any support. So that was why then I looked at myself and I thought, what do I usually would tell my tenants? When they when they can't pay their rent, when I see them doing other stuff, what I would say is go and see your GP. So then my husband started coming around with it. So I went to see my GP and he prescribed me with meds, the lowest dose of it. And I started and I was off work. My employer, I think again, or my manager, I would say at the time, and my team is like my second home. They're wonderful family. They said, Brenda, take time off. And they were calling me, the whites. So we say Black people, we don't understand. They would send messages, they would call me. And 2 months I was off the meds and I told myself, yes, I think I can manage it, because then this is what we advise people, isn't it? Not to depend on the medication. Because when you're being medicated, that means you're not able to manage it yourself. So we're using something else to manage it.
About that, because I think maybe some people might know, they probably even know that they're depressed, but they don't want to go on those medications. And surely that shouldn't be the only way to actually get help. I'm just going to pass over to you, Stacey. What are the other means beyond obviously being going through antidepressant?
There's a whole world of therapies that are out there that can support with mental health. You have CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which talks about changing your thinking, your thought patterns, and obviously the onset that has on your behavior. You have counseling, various different styles of talking therapies and different approaches. Which can support individuals. It's good to talk. We talk with our friends, we talk with our families, and we feel so much better. So if you have that confidential, private space where you can be open and honest and get the right support, definitely talking therapies is very effective.
Yeah, and to add to Stacey, counseling, because a lot of times, sometimes depression is just because you can't actually just let it out. You cannot scream. I can't just come to you and say, Joe, this is what's happening to me. I hate this thing. I hate that. So just bottling in. One day you just be like, you know what? I don't even want to be in this world anyway. I just want to let go. I want to go. So I did a little bit of counseling as well, 6 weeks. And, I think it was the counseling that helped with stopping the meds. So that was what got me. And during my 6 weeks session, I would say anything. I would insult whoever I want to insult. I'd call.
That was your way to let go.
Yes. The people who disappointed me, I'd call their name and say that, because that person, they don't know me. She said, don't hold on, just let it all out. And I think
for me as well,
it helped. And since then, it's been counseling. Wonderful. So
Okay, that's really good to know. And I think going back to the first segment where we talked about the strength that is often put on us as women, and not just as women, I think as Black women, because I think I'll use the word disadvantaged, being a Black woman, because you are just meant to be powerful. You're just meant to be strong for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So the question really is it fair for us? So this is not even the expectation people are putting on us, but as an individual, is it fair for you to feel like you've got to take on so much to the point of breaking? I want us to think about it.
I feel it's just like what you said. It's not just even about people expecting that from you. Is we set this expectation for ourselves, which is not necessary. So I think that was how I coped as well, because this one would seek help. I'll be the first person to help. That one would say I'll be the first person. I always feel like I'm the savior. But I think that comes with, like we were asking earlier on about zodiac sign, and I said I believe in my one, because we just feel we need to nurture. We need to take care of everything that is going on. So I stopped that. So now I only do what I can do. And I think we should allow other people we should fall on other people sometimes. Like if you've got a friend who says, you know what, can you help me look after the kids? You can tell them as well that, can you help me look after the kids? So don't put it on so much on yourself. So I was just coming
into the support. So there is this thing of, because sometimes it can be very difficult to actually know that your strong friend is going through depression if you don't tell your friend that you're going through it. But I guess there are some people that them genuinely, and you can tell something isn't quite right. So the question really, given your experiences, if I was to identify that I've got a friend who's depressed, obviously I can't go to them to say, I think you're depressed, what is the problem? What are the ways of getting the best out of them in order to be able to support them? So the first question is, how can we get the best from them to understand their mindset? And the second question is, then how can we help and be there for people who are depressed?
For me, I think the first thing you would say to someone you kind of like feel might be depressed, but they're not talking about is tell them that, tell them the things that they usually do and things that you've noticed. and, try and explain more. This is what's happening. We Black people, we don't like to talk about these things, but this is what I've noticed. I don't think we should even probably use the word depression, because you might want to help, and that person might be one of those people who would say God or say it's evil spirit. So you don't want to step on their toes and even make them go more crazy. So just tell them what you think you've noticed, and just say, I'm here. If you need to talk, I'm here. If you need help with your kids, I'm here. And the person might be telling you constantly, oh, Joe, you know what? Oh, these kids, they're doing my head in. I'm not even coping. Like joke, how we usually talk amongst ourselves. So you might just say, you know what? Why don't you bring the kids to my place for the weekend? Trust me, that's how the person, because part of depression, again, is trust.
Of course.
You have to trust someone to be able to open up and tell them exactly how you're feeling. So bring the kids over to my place. Or you know what, Brenda, I just feel like you've done so much this month. Don't you think we should go for a drink, or maybe just go somewhere for the weekend?
It's just being then showing that
exactly
you care about them enough to know the differences.
Yes.
Just quickly, Stacey, over to you, because you do have lots of clients that you do visit. What would you say is the most common form of depression with your clients, especially the ones from the Black descendants?
With those within the Black community, it tends to not be severe, I should say, severe depression. It's normally mild. It's normally the early onsets of depression, because you're not going to see somebody who's in a psychotic episode. You're going to see somebody who's at the early stages of depression, seeing all these changes within themselves and don't know how to manage it. So when I go and see certain clients, it's all about identifying where are the changes, what's happened, what did you used to do that you're no longer doing? Because some of the top tips that we say is stay active, be active, be out in the communities, attend the events that you used to attend. Don't stop being active. Don't change. Don't withdraw yourself from your social circles, and eat healthy. Our diets play such a huge part of our mental well-being. We always say healthy mind, healthy body. It comes hand in hand. So it's about changing our diet as the Black community as well. So it depends on each individual. It depends on their circumstances, and we just try and tailor the therapy and the support needs that's needed for that person.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Just one final word from both of them. We're just going to start with Stacey. There's someone watching us right now and is probably going through depression. If you were to say one thing to them, what would that be?
Talk. Speak up. You're not alone. And there's people here that are willing to listen.
Thank you very much. And over to you, Brenda.
Mine too would be, just talk. And you don't have to stay within your community. The best first step to go to, honestly, is your GP. Your GP, and tell them, be honest, don't hide. Because a lot of times, even when people are depressed, they're not able to, they still feel, even the GP will judge them. But no, they are trained that way. Just be honest, be yourself. And like Stacey said earlier on, if there's anything you love doing, just go for it. Because it usually does help. Like me, I love to dance, I love to sing, so I just do it all the time to keep me going.
You mask it all in all.
No, I don't mask it anymore now. I just do it, because before I would be like, oh, they will talk, this person will say. But now, because I know that's what keeps me going, that makes me well, so I just do it anyway.
Lovely. Thank you so much, ladies. That's awesome. Hopefully there's somebody who's watching us probably going through this and is able to pick one or two things from you guys, probably able to learn from the tips that you guys have given. So thank you so much, ladies.
You're welcome. Thank you.
If you have been affected by this episode in any way, shape or form, please email us at info@joemaxwellshow.com. If you're going through depression, or might feel like you are going through depression and you don't know who to speak to or what to do, seek help, contact your doctor. And that's it for us on today's episode. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media pages at Joe Maxwell Show, and follow us on the conversation with the hashtag Joe Maxwell Show. Thanks for watching, and see you same time next week. I am your host, Joe Maxwell.